Hey YouTube, welcome back to Homegrown, where we review American-made outdoor gear. Today we are looking at Darn Tough socks out of Vermont. Darn Tough socks are made in Northfield, which I suspect to be the self-proclaimed sock capital of the world, but I don't have any basis to challenge them on it, so I guess they can have it. Darn Tough is famous for their lifetime guarantee on their socks. So I've got a few different examples that I'll show you. This one is the quarter height hiker, they call it the cushion sock. So, quarter height sock, they make these in all different heights and colors, hiking socks, hunting socks, all sorts of stuff. This one, it's a little bit hard to illustrate for you on camera. There you can see it, but there is a little bit of thickness to this sock. It has sort of just the right amount of cushion for a hiking sock to make you feel like you've got some support without being bulky in the boot. I've liked that, the Darn Tough hiker sock a lot. And there's the Darn Tough logo down there on the toe. So that is that one. The hiker sock, July of 2020, is going for $18. This is the No-Show Light, which is sort of the athletic type sock. You can see this one is much thinner. There's really no cushion there at all. I like that No-Show, the really low height. Either just wearing shorts and tennis shoes or on the bike, whatever the case may be. So two certainly different types of socks, both made out of merino wool, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And then this is a dress sock from Darn Tough that I've had for a while. The dress sock doesn't really fit the outdoor theme of the channel other than maybe that fly fishing motif. But I've had these for a few years and worn them quite a bit, and really just want to show you that one to give you an idea of how it's wearing and holding up. So we'll talk about that one in a minute. They call that one the Crew Light or Lifestyle sock. And again, July 2020, they're running about 21 bucks. These are all large. I wear a size 12, so they're working fine for me. They seem true to size so far as I can tell. Merino wool, Merino is a breed of sheep. The wool is finer and softer than regular wool. So if you hear wool and think back to, Army surplus socks or jackets, that's not what we're talking about. This material is much softer than that. It's much finer than that kind of wool. And there are a lot of benefits to merino wool. If you're familiar with cold weather activities, skiing or camping or hiking, you've probably had some experience with merino in the past for good reason. It regulates temperature very well. So merino does a good job in the cold and in the heat. Obviously they make different thicknesses of these socks, but the material regulates temperature well. It wicks really well also to keep you dry, which helps to keep you warm in the winter and helps to keep you cool in the summer as you get that evaporation. The material dries pretty quickly as well. It also absorbs odor. There's some antimicrobial characteristic to this stuff where it just doesn't stink. And again, if you've been in the outdoor gear business or you've skied a lot of years or something like that, there are certain materials that can just really get a funk to them. Merino is great for not doing that. So, if you're on a multi-day trip or something where you're not getting to do laundry real frequently, merino is great for those applications. It is also durable. As I said, those dress socks I've had for a lot of years, and it's obviously durable if they're willing to stand behind them for life, and merino itself is renewable. Darn Tough, as I mentioned, made in Vermont. They source merino wool, and it's actually right on their tag here. Made in Vermont, USA, with yarns from America and around the globe, but they do seem committed to responsibly sourced and sustainably sourced wool. So as you look around, do some research on their website and elsewhere, there's a practice called mulesing where they folks remove some skin from the rear end of sheep, and it's to prevent a larval issue. But it is not well regarded in a lot of communities. So Darn Tough is committed to sourcing wool from providers that are not using that mulesing practice. So if you're concerned about that, Darn Tough checks that box. They're also supportive of a thing called the Responsible Wool Standard, which has been established as an international standard for herd management, this sort of practice I just talked about, as well as sustainable land management practices. And Darn Tough supports that work and has committed to 100% sourcing from providers that meet that standard, sort of once enough providers ramp up to be able to meet the demand that they have. So they are, it sounds like, trying to do the right thing, not only manufacturing in the U.S., but sourcing raw materials in a responsible way. I mentioned earlier, unconditional lifetime guarantee. You go on their website, complete the order form. online order form, ship them back. They give you a code for a new pair, and away you go. So your old socks that have failed you in whatever fashion you've determined warranting a guarantee, they send you a new pair. So that's that. Really no questions asked. They don't cover if your dog eats your socks, they're not going to cover that. If you burn your socks up, they're not going to cover that. And if you lose one to the dryer or wherever else, they're not going to give you a new pair for sending one back. So I guess that's the reason they make you send them back. But otherwise, for as long as you've got them, they stand behind them. If you're not happy, you don't think they're the best socks you've got, they'll give you a new pair. Overall impressions, Merino is awesome, really flexible. These are made in America. They're proud of that. I think they're committed to that for the long haul. And the guarantee to me justifies the price. Yeah, 15 to 20 bucks is probably on the higher end of what I've paid for socks, but they last me a really long time. So it's not some garbage that I'm just throwing in the trash, and they perform really well. Durability wise, these dress socks I've had for a few years, and in my normal day-to-day life, I wear them a fair bit. Normally I probably would have a toe trying to poke through or something like that, or a heel trying to wear out, and there's none of that with these dress socks. I mean, they look to me very close to new, and believe you me, they are not. So I've been happy with them overall. As I said, the cushion version has just the right amount of support without being bulky in the boot. I like that athletic sock as well. I will tell you, Merino feels a little bit different than cotton, and it's kind of hard to articulate. It doesn't feel maybe quite as springy as some cotton socks that you've got. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just different. So that being said, having worn these socks for a number of years, I've not had any fit issues or Lycra try to wear out or anything like that. So I wouldn't be concerned about it. But if you buy a pair and put them on and they fit differently, don't be concerned about that. They just sort of fit differently. It's the way that Merino fits, and maybe the mix of Merino and Lycra that they use. I have had a little bit of pilling in these socks, and you can sort of see it right there. That is very likely my fault. Now, when I was sitting down to do this review, I looked into the care instructions for the first time ever, I'll admit, and they recommend that you wash the socks inside out. I will be the first to tell you I did not do that. So that pilling is probably my fault. So you're supposed to wash them inside out and dry them on low. I dry pretty much everything on medium. So the pilling's probably on me, but it's not a big deal to me. The sock goes inside of a shoe anyway, more often than not. So I think Darn Tough is great. I've got years of experience with their stuff, made in America, sustainably, responsibly sourced, and they stand behind it forever and ever. I'm not sure what more you could hope for. Hopefully this review has been helpful. If you want to learn more about American-made outdoor gear, like and subscribe. The website is also up and running, homegrownoutdoors.us. Thanks a lot. See you next time.